you. Come here.
Welcome to Meet the Maker, where we spend some time with craftsmen and artisans from around the area to shed light on the disciplines they pursue and why they do it. To kick off this series, we're talking to Dykstra, a high-end bicycle fabricator and Air Force veteran. Aaron started the Making Foundation, a school enrichment program that allows students from Roanoke City public schools to earn a grade by working with their hands and creating items from scratch.
Maker Mart is it's an actual location. The Making Foundation is a nonprofit that I started. The Maker Mart is our first location. I really would love to expand this, but this is an old grocery store. It was a functioning grocery store from 1941 until 2011. I got my hands on it and we started the rehab to turn it into what it is today, which is a community making space, but a completely analog making space. In doing what I was doing before, I ran a custom bicycle company, 611 Bicycle Co. in hometown manufacturing, where I made custom fillet brazed, lugged, custom bicycle frames. It's very akin to getting out like a custom suit made. It was something that I was very fortunate to have I'll say a decent amount of success with. After a while, you realize, hey, I'm making these $10,000 bicycles. Ultimately, what impact is that having on the world? While I really enjoy it and take a tremendous amount of pride in my craft, ultimately I think it left me feeling a little bit empty. Being over on Shenandoah Avenue, I had a big shop and I'd leave my door open and I had bikes and motorcycles and all kinds of just cool stuff in there. And I'd be in there welding and I'd start to see neighborhood kids kind of pull in and peek into what I was doing, and they'd be very interested, very curious. They'd come up and start talking to me, and they'd see the bikes and ask questions, and then they would leave, and then a couple days later they'd come back with broken bikes and say, hey, can you fix this? And I'd always say, nope, but I will show you how to. So we'd put it in the stand and give them the tools that they need and show them how to fix it. And it was a really cool experience for me. I was certainly a little bit aloof to the importance of that moment, I'll say. And it took me getting tied in with the manufacturing community a little bit more. Virginia Western was holding a manufacturers summit at the time. These giant manufacturer CEOs sitting in a room, everyone was wringing their hands going, what are we gonna do about the workforce? What are we gonna do about this generation gap? We have this huge, they kept referring to it as the silver tsunami, where everybody's retiring in the trades world, and they're really struggling to find these people. That was the moment where I went, wait a minute, we've got these kids that are like really interested in that. And instead of like trying to talk to them about how exciting an assembly line on Elizabeth Arden is, let's talk about something that they're interested in. Bikes. Like that's something I know. It's what worked for me. Let's meet them where they're at on that. We really get a wide band of kids in here. Originally, the intent was to mostly focus on middle school kids. There's a lot of kids that just don't know what a machinist is, and if they found it, they would absolutely fall in love with it. If you just see welding, you're probably gonna picture working inside a muffler shop. Like that's probably the initial reaction. And it's such a wider range than that. You can work for NASA, you can do anything and make a tremendous amount of money. If you have the basic skill sets, which is something that I think we're all either born with or not. And I think there's a lot of kids that are born with those skill sets that just completely fall through the cracks. I'm one of those kids. I had no concept. I had never stepped inside a machine shop. I didn't even have a shop class in school. It was just something that always appealed to me, but it was very, kind of a removed option for me. Having a purpose is so important, and a lot of the kids that we serve don't feel like they have a purpose because they don't see people around them that really feel like they have a purpose. When you start expanding on what the students are good at, it ends up opening these doors and ends up correcting what they're bad at once they have more context for this stuff. And that is a really valuable thing. encourage making mistakes. We just have to correct them after we make them. And that's how you learn. We get kids in here that they get a lot of pushback, you know. It was a big focus of mine in creating this, is to not make it feel like a stodgy workshop or shop class. Like, I didn't want the big boring oak desk and kind of that feeling of the crusty old shop teacher, although very, very self-aware of the fact that I'm becoming that crusty old shop teacher. Funny how that works. But having it feel starkly different to them. And that was a big thing, because it is kind of a shock to the system. So I get the kids in here and we do have that attitude. So many of these kids, they're used to being in trouble. That is their baseline. They come at this of, I'm going to get in trouble because that's where I feel comfortable. That's what I know. I know what it feels like to have the teacher frustrated with me. That's where I'm coming from. And what I'm trying to tell these kids is, like, I'm not frustrated with you. If you're not into this, like, go have a seat. Like, I'm not mad at you. Like, I totally understand why this wouldn't be appealing to you. It's really appealing to me, but it's not for everyone. And what you find is when that kid goes and sits down and starts watching what the other kids are doing, they very quickly come over here. And I've had kids that, you know, really push back so hard. And some of those same kids, once those light bulbs start going off, and once they see that, like, I don't want them to be in trouble, I like them for who they are on their own, not because, you know, it's my job to babysit them. Like, I'm coming at them and treating them like human beings and kind of giving them a fresh start every time. And that is a huge component to kind of breaking that attitude and making them feel more comfortable to where they want to come in here. And those kids that push back so hard end up being the same kids that when the bus is here at the end of the day, you know, they're at school from, you know, basically 7:30 on, and I've got them at 6:30 and the bus is here. They're wanting to keep working on their project. It's like, wow, how do we bottle this? How do we get more out of this? Because that excitement, that desire, if you can get that out of a 7th grader, you know, we need to be applying that in a much larger sense. You know, I'm really someone who tries to avoid duplicated efforts on things. And there are a lot of people in the community, in the region, in the country that are doing really exciting things within the realm of career and technical education. I just want to be the farm AAA ball team for them. I want to get the kids ready, get them early. I'm not beating them over the head with, these are your career options, take a pick off this list. I'm just saying, let's make cool stuff and see what happens. And what that does is it lets them realize their potential. That's something that I really want to carry on. I'd love to find old grocery stores, finding these kind of derelict spaces in underserved communities and turning them into, you know, it sounds a little dramatic to say, but turning them into empowerment centers where kids can come in and realize that they have value. This truly is an investment in the future when you look at what we're doing here. It is not a, you know, immediate instant gratification because we are dealing with 8 to 18-year-olds. But that being said, I mean, we've got 18-year-olds that we are placing in jobs that have gone through this process that otherwise would not have those connections. And that's a huge thing. And that's something that I am a huge advocate of spreading. I have yet to come across a community that can't benefit from that.